student. You're watching Learning Campus Online and I'm lecturer Assam. Today I'm going to deliver my lecture on active voice and passive voice. In English we have two types of voices. One is active and other is passive. Actually the voice describes the relationship between subject, verb and object. It is voice that tells us whether a verb is passive or active. Now, in case of active voice, the subject performs the action. Action is performed by the subject. So, subject is the doer of an action. And it has a very clear construction, which starts with the subject and then followed by the verb and then you have object, etc. So the construction is quite clear. That is why active voice aids impact to your writing. In case of passive voice, the action is not performed by the subject. Rather, the subject receives the action and it becomes an agent. Subject and passive voice, the subject is not performing the action. The action of this verb is rather acted upon by the subject and is no longer the doer of an action, rather a recipient, and it becomes an agent. Okay, we use active voice to create a direct and a clear and a concise sentence. We use passive voice when the subject is more important, when the object is more important than the subject. Now, in writing, when the writer wants to shift the focus from subject to the object, he uses passive voice. Now, I'm going to tell you about the different types of voices. In fact, I'm going to tell you about the different types of passive voice. We have categorized passive voice into different categories. Like we have passive, static passive, we have static passive, we have normal passive, we have agent passive, we have another type is we have formal passive, and the question is how to change active voice into the passive voice. What is the formula that we use in order to change an active voice into the passive voice? Well, I am going to share that formula with you. First of all, we have subject, object, inversion. Subject, object, inversion means in case of passive voice, we have to replace the subject with an object. Object replaces the subject. Rather, we can say that object occupies the place of subject in case of passive voice. This is the first step that we have to do. The second step is use a helping verb or auxiliary. But keep one thing in your mind, that always try to use auxiliary according to the main verb. According to the tense of main verb. Whether the tense of main verb is in present, then you have to use the present auxiliary, and if it is in past, then use the past auxiliary. Okay, so use a helping verb. Okay, the next step that I am going to tell you, that is third form of the verb. Third form of the verb. In passive voice, we always use third form of the verb. Third form of the verb is always used in passive voice. It is a very simple and it's a very clear step. And if you keep these points in your mind, it won't be difficult for you to change a passive sentence into the active sentence. Okay, then use a preposition. Normally we use a preposition by, but there are some exceptions. And in those exceptions, sometimes we use to, But it depends upon, but the use of preposition depends upon the verb. Okay, sometimes we use to, sometimes and is used, sometimes when is used, and sometimes in. But most of the time the preposition by is used.